Alright, BurlaCAD Volume 3, 3 Measuring Data. Unless the modeler is creating with a conceptual nuclear geometry, how he must work with a variety of the information stored with the build with the model. Within some cases, the blueprints and mechanical drawings exist. In other words, strip the field with the required physically to measure object with the orientation. Still, the other geometry exists in another CAD format needs to be converted to the BurlaCAD format as shown in the table 1. Each of the type of the measurement source has its own advantages and disadvantages depending on the modeler and or user's point of view. Our blueprint schematic mechanical diagrams advantages can see time resources providing precise measurement for the minimal data collection can also suggest way for the structural model providing the wire diagram substantial subsystem schematics. Disadvantage can sometimes be difficult to read, but not always show the all needed measurements of review. That also, you are not always consistently the actual object with the representation design changes that sometimes occur during the development and manufacturing. Measuring objects can provide the best of the variable information, providing hands-on access to actual objects being modeled. Can resource laboratory incentive to be limited with the object's availability of accessibility measurement and resulting measurement. Converted geometry can offer significant savings of the data collection with the measurement. Evermans can have missing data unfamiliar, naming the schemes alternate dissimilar geometric formats featured based object splines can also be unsuitable for the government application because the original model was developed in a different purpose. Alright, regardless of the type of the information source they are simple key, they obtain the data with the keys that often require a little to extra time of the effort of every earlier step of the modeling process that they can significantly more time after effort of later, except especially with the multiple models that are involved in the project. Several of these key factors, several of the keys involved in this follow level leverage of all source available. Although one of the previously mentioned sources may be primarily one from the modeler, which will work, although all the available photographs and drawings converted into geometry should be together with the spot check varied information. Given sometimes schematics are mislabeled, the mistake with made with the measuring or geometry, other CAD pro packages do not convert them properly. With the only way to catch some errors is to compare them against another source. Alright, get information which is available to many of the data points involved with the building of the complexity geometry for the unknown with the benefit for finding during the geometry developed not all required information obtained during the data measurement with the collection phase. The important components of the land dimensions are over to be overlooked more inconvenient than possible with the combat vehicle to recollect with the remeasure, reconvert with the missing the modeler shall be zero with the possible with the obtaining data if and it is not clear with the piece of the geometry measurement will be required always is discussed later if not needed. Also, the spirit of the carpenter's maxis is a good idea to measure twice, cut once, double check, measured, and convert in geometry before it is then placed in the model. Alright, 3. Get total length and total views. Modelers sometimes have to take the relative measurements of object across the face without measuring the entire length and width of the face. Unfortunately, at the end, the measurement does not always add up. It must be easier to back out and miss an inaccurate measuring given the total length of the width. Likewise, the photographing portion of the bigger object, the radiator on a truck, is a good idea. Also compared with the shovel bird eye with the views of the encompassing object with the engine compartment or the entire truck to establish overall reference points. Alright, proceed with a uniformly spaced object with a good practice of measuring the total length with 0 to divide by the number of the objects to help with the spread out with the inaccuracy along with the span prevents them from accumulating last objects. For the example, the row with the 20 bolts with the 50 millimeter intervals measure the air with just about 2 millimeters from the bolts could result with the last bolt being nearly 40 millimeters opposition. Our record measurements are clearly consistent with this possible. Interesting how he scribbled with a perfectly understandable measurement taker with a still front with the object that can be indecipherable when later viewed back in the office when the object is not longer accessible. Furthermore, despite the best laid plans, projects, personals can change with the midstream, and the person taking the measurements may wind up having little no connection person actual interpreting the measurement of the building of the model. There are drawings and notation should be significantly clear because with someone unfamiliar with the object could be understand and work with the recorded measurements. A few recommendations are given as follows and include the meaningful title on the draw. The detailed drawing of the data could be to little value with the clear with the overall geometry view with the design piece with the type of the completed model. Alright, in general, orient the drawing with an orthogonal view of the participant eliminates potential problems associated with the perspective, making the drawings easier to read in use. If the other angle of the desire would not be a bad idea, include at least one off angle of the view with a few measurements with the help of the form the reference points. Be sure to include the azimuth and end of elevation information orientation relative to the eye point to the actual vehicle of the coordinate system. In addition, note that any typical configurations orientation tank turret rotated in unusual fashion to allow the access of the certain components. See, including offsets of the other objects, although the measurement is not accurately with the primary data with the required input with the MGD and the MGD commands, they may help the modeler resolve the problem to derive the other measurements that needed later. For example, the modeling of the field object flat surface with the gauge buttons on instrument panel gauge. Good practice is not only to collect the distance for the object from, say, the edge of the panel, but the distance relative to the other object. For the information will be available to trying to troubleshoot overlap with the other problems encountered during elevation phase. D. Clearly record the small details and simple record measurement is important to remember that every small detail such as arrows, edges, centers, thickness, numbered in units can lead to possible confusion. Although arrows too long or too short can be mistaken at the point of the shape of the edge insisted center hastily written with the numbers mistaken with the numbers of 1 versus 7. Unidentified inner diameters can be confused with outer diameters. Unidentified units can be assumed both be other units, and table 2 listed the other standard symbols of the abbreviation that are commonly used when recording measurements. Alright, R for radius, circle with a line through it, or the D for diameter, inside ID for inside diameter, OD for inside diameter. Circle with a crosshair in it is the center, dot dash line, center line, angle, door swing, arc, curved line, 2 parallel lines with an inside array, and 2 parallel lines with inside pointing arrays pointing in. Distance between 2 edges, the full dotted distance between 2 points, the 2 centers with an array, distance between 2 centers, parallel, 2 lines, a perpendicular sign, and intersection as a U or an X. Union is given in the X-ray is given a down wave or an X for the intersection, U for union. All right, for organizing the structure.